Well, greetings to you all there. This is once again the YouTube channel called Full Octave Music. I got my Emerald 12 string. I've got my cover that I put on my couch to keep it from being gouged, scratched, spilled, dirtied, and everything else that goes with it. I love my couch. It's a very comfortable couch, so I try to protect it. And what I'm doing here today is I want to show you a practice technique that I've been using. One of the chords, open chords that are a nemesis to me, an Achilles heel if you will, is the C chord. It's not that it's difficult for me to play it, it's difficult for me to be able to come down on the strings with a single motion for the C chord. Now, for the purposes of the video, I won't go into detail of how to do a C chord and the others. You know, that's something that you can do. Look them up, they're easy chords. So we have the C chord here. Now I'm sitting down, and one thing that I find when I'm sitting down is that sometimes the guitar will kind of tip backwards, and not only does it make me, it hurts my wrist when I do that, but it can make the chord sound not so good. So what I'm doing is I'm trying to keep the guitar set as if I was standing, or as close to it as I can come, so that the guitar sounds good. And of course, you know, when you're doing a chord, you want to come down as much as you can on the tips of your fingers, not laying your hand down. One of the things about the C chord is that when you have your ring finger, naturally, if you have it spaced the same as the other two fingers, you'll be away from the fret. So you have to kind of be conscious to come down toward the fret as much as you can. And that has that's an odd sensation. That's not natural. At least not for me to do that. But you can do it with it back from the fret. You just got to push down hard. So the technique I'm doing is I'll do the C, A, G, E, and D in succession. Starting out with, we'll just say 4 strums per each chord. A, and you know that I do a modified A with 2 fingers. If you can do it with 3, that's great. For me, I modify it with 2. Coming to the G. So you do 4 strums of each. And then the E chord. And this is also another chord where you got to kind of, this is a 12 string, so you got to really be conscious of it. You got to really push down kind of hard because your middle finger is not close to the fret. And then D. So what I'm doing with this is I play the C, A, G, E, D. And I've learned how to do those chords fairly easily. So what I'm doing is also, I'll do the C, A, come back to C, go back to the G, or to the G I should say, back to C, and then to E, back to C, D, back to C. So I'm sort of overloading the amount of times I have to do the C chord, and therefore I am using that chord as much as possible so that I can learn how to be able to do it. Now, when I'm doing this, I'm looking at it, and I'm actually coming to a place where being able to come down with it quicker is really starting to pay off. I'm finding I'm able to do it, but I still have to kind of look sometimes. And then, you know, the next step would be, of course, in the evolution of this technique would be to not be looking. I've heard of, even though I don't listen to the secular stuff, there's a guitar player named Herman Lee from a band called Dragon Force, and he does a technique where he'll be in a dark room and play his guitar so you can't see it. which is kind of cool. And so you can start out with the 4 strums, and then you can go to 3 for each chord. And then you can do 2 for each chord. And then you can get down to a point where you do 1. And you can speed it up. You can study how from the C chord you can just position your fingers up to E. And so those are other things we can talk about in later time, is to keep up. I've done one video where you have a planted finger and you move the others to make another chord. Like in the case of the A minor, keeping your index finger planted, you just move your middle and ring finger up a set of strings, and that's an E chord. And so this is a little technique that I am using, and if you have trouble with the D chord, then you can overload this technique with the D or any one of the chords that are in here. It is becoming closer to the holidays, and a lot of the songs that are Christmassy type songs have minor chords, E minor, A minor. They'll have chords like C sharp minor, F sharp, B, B7, B minor 7. So those are all chords that I have to incorporate into the mixture as well here. So what I'm doing is I'm studying and trying to develop and looking at some other people that have been able to find alternate ways to play those difficult chords. You know, a B chord, you got to do, essentially you're doing 2 bar chords, and at least for me personally, this is very difficult to do, especially on a 12 string. But it's doable. And then there are other ways you can do bar chord and then have your fingers in the same position, and you go up and down the neck with that same positioning. So you can start out by doing like an F chord, and then you move down. Each time you move down, it's a different chord. It's F, whatever, A, B, C, D. That's something I'm still acquiring to be able to do as well. So those are all things that can make you a better player. And if you can learn bar chords, how to do that. If you go from an F, you form an F chord with a bar, and then you can just go down the neck, and basically you can play any one of the open chords, or well, they're not called open, but you can play any one of the chords going up and down the neck. So that's kind of a cool thing to learn. So this has been my little nemesis chord changing technique, and I still don't have it down, but that's okay, because practice makes perfect. Okay, until next time, I'll see y'all later.